Yes, so we are recording and we can get started. Uh, Thank you guys for coming on a Sunday morning, 11 a.m. I only woke up at like 9:30, and I don't know. But yeah, I am really happy that we got this topic that I didn't know that you guys needed, but I really am have a lot of basically stories to share about. Um, how do you run a strong prospect call? The topic came from two places actually. Once Jigyasa is there in our noise community, she asked that if I can take a session on how to close high ticket clients like HubSpot. So it was an inbound lead. I don't have a strategy that I can present, but getting them interested in your work is just step one. Getting them on a call and convincing them to work with you, then following up after the call and then delivering the value is like 90% of the task. So the first 10% you have to do on your own. Like I can help, but a little bit. But once they are on the call, what do you do? How do you proceed? How do you not panic? How do you ask the right questions? That is very important. So I got this, like I asked her, I can help with all of these things. Would you be interested in? And a lot of people said yes. Then I saw this tweet by Diksha where basically before the call she was very confident. I can say yeah this that and I can ask a lot of questions. But then as soon as the call starts, maybe she's stammering or maybe she forgets her name, right. I have been there too. I So suppose there's a call at 4 p.m. I have like neglected all of my work and I'm only thinking about the call. Okay, 4 p.m. call hai, 4 p.m. call hai. What am I prepared enough? I am on their website and I'm looking at things. What if they ask me this? What if they ask me that? I'm panicking in my room and like all of those overthinking basically. Uh, if you guys can quickly put in the chat box, how do you feel just before a client call? Are you like calm or are you like dekh lenge, or are you also panicking like I used to? uh, just a feeling, if you can quickly put it in the chat box. Okay, nervous, anxious, nervous, pure anxiety attack, nice. Thinking about it at 4 a.m. Voice just gives up on me. So if you uh, look at all of these examples, um, nothing else get done, I stutter a lot, very very relatable things that we all go through. um, I think a lot of it that helps is a mindset shift. So all of this can be solved if you are just confident enough, right? If you are going into the call with so many expectations that if this call does not convert, my life is over, or I have asked a client to come on this call after so long, I have to give it my best. So once you have that feeling, that feeling of expectations of conversion, so you're only focusing on the result. You're not focusing on you're not focused on a lot of the conversation that you can have into the call. So if you look at if you look at the conversation that's happening, if you just focus on if you can really help them, if you can ask the right questions, don't focus about the result. The result will happen after 3 4 days only. There's nothing you can do on the call that will help, that is going to help you. uh, I mean, sorry, there's nothing that you can do uh, on like, because after the call you will have to send an email and you will have to send a proposal, and there are so many things that you can always recover after you have done the call, right? So the top three things that have helped me move on from the nervousness, anxiety, panic attacks, overthinking is going in with zero expectations. You, if you don't expect a lot, you end up giving your best, is what I've experienced. So I'll give you a quick example. There was a client from Kenya, okay, and he DM'd me asking if I can write newsletters for him. I was like, okay, he's from Kenya, he will be paying in dollars, I'm not worth dollars, so why should, like, I cannot convert him, but let me just have this conversation. So I'm having this conversation. Yes, yes, I can do newsletters. Tell me your requirements. Then he said newsletters we might start in 3 months, but can you do thought leadership articles? I have never written a thought leadership article, but I was like, yeah, I can write it. I told him I have not written, but I can write it. I would like to give it a try. Then he said, okay, whatever samples you have, you can send it to me on my email. So I went to ChatGPT and I gave it all of my articles and I asked, ki, isme se which of these like slightly represent thought leadership? And it gave me 5 6 articles in ranking. I took top three, I sent it to him, and I said I'll charge $300 for a blog and $500 for a newsletter. I didn't know how much to quote him. I asked ChatGPT how much to quote. He said $300. I'm like, fine. I'm never going to convert him anyway. $300 is okay. I don't know if it is too much. I don't know if it is too less. He liked those articles, and then he said that, can we do it at $150? And I'm like, $150 is also huge for me. I was charging 3 rupees per blog at that time, I think. So I said, of course. I said, yes, we have agreed on the pricing, but still I have to get on a call and I have to convince him and all of that thing. As soon as got on the call, I was like, I have zero confidence. I'm just going in. I did not think about the call the whole day. I was like, whatever I do, I'll not convert him, no matter what. So I just went in. I was literally cracking jokes, is what I felt. I was so relaxed because there were no expectations. He said that you will be the first person who will be working from in India, and I'm like, okay, so my whole country's responsibility is in my hands. I'm like very chill and talking like this to him. So after the call, I realized that just because I had zero expectations, I could be a little more myself and not just talking about it, like thinking about impressing him or thinking about I have done this, that, that. I could also show my personality, which I think he liked. And we ended up converting the client later. Second mindset shift is equal footing. So they have a need, that is why they're looking at you. They're not doing a favor to you, you are not doing a favor to them. It's like pieces of the puzzle. They have a gap in the piece of the puzzle, and you have a extra uh, piece that goes into the puzzle, right? So they are incomplete without you, you are incomplete without them. If you think, okay, they are superior, you have already lowered your confidence. If you think that, okay, if they reject me, what will I do? Or if, again, expectations and equal footing go like hand in hand. uh, just think that, be like confident in your service, and just think that you can fill the gap that they have identified or you have helped them identify. And just think that they're not doing any favor to you, you are also providing a service that you have took years to hone and master the skill. In this aspect only, I think you should be very very clear about having your process clear, because having a process clear is like, for example, if you go to a doctor and the doctor says, okay, you have something in your eye, I'm not sure what it is. Again, you have lost trust in the doctor already, because how can he not diagnose what is wrong with your eye? Why is your eye red? He will be like, it can be because of this, it can be because of that. You can go and register there. Like, if he's giving you a very vague answer, you will not trust the doctor. But if he says that, okay, we have a b c processes that we need to follow, that we then you will have the trust on the doctor himself. So this is how uh, the shift in mindset of an equal footing helps, right? And having a process very very clear. I would to say that you should have your process as clear that you can speak about it in your sleep. Someone asks, how do you write a blog? You should have it like memorized. Tattoo banana uska, I don't know, but you should have it like very very strong process, because that uh, does half of the game of convincing them. And the third very important shift is that,
Sorry to disturb you. I think there's some issue. Slides are not changing, and also like people in the community are saying they are in the waiting room, like trying to get in, but like you have to accept it or something.
I cannot see anybody here. Slides will be okay here. Okay. I was talking about you can always recover. तभी तो slide. You can see the mindsets reset now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about the third point right now. There is no other slide.
Okay, okay. Nice.
Um,
Thanks.
Thank you, Diksha. Yeah, so the third point is you can always recover. So, for example, if you don't know something that they have asked, you should not be like, okay, I don't know, I have fucked up. No, you can accept the fact that, okay, I'm not sure. I will look into it and I will send you an email after this call. Or I will look into it and I will give you a strategy after this call. You can always recover if you have messed up even slightly on the call. You can always say, I will look into it and I will get back to you on email. You don't need to panic. You don't need to be like, okay, my internet issue is there. Am I audible? I've done that in my job interviews, so I understand that it's a problem or it's something that we all do. So you can always like be confident, accept the fact that you don't know everything. Not every call will be perfect, and then you go on and just recover whatever you have missed. Take notes, like what they asked and what you could not answer, and this after the email do your research and just send it to them. So before going on the call, if you go with zero expectations, you will be a little slightly more confident. If you think of them as an equal, if they're asking questions, you can answer them back instead of defending yourself. If they ask, do you use AI, be confident and say yes, I use AI. And just if you don't use AI, just say that I don't use AI. Don't try to uh, convince them, because I said now that your process has to be clear. If your process has AI in it, and if you're confident that I don't use AI for writing but I use AI for research, just tell them that process and they will be okay. If you are like, okay, I don't use AI at all, they know that you are bullshitting. So there's no point in trying to say the right words that they want to hear, but just stay true to yourself. And if you have messed up, for example, if before the call you're thinking, what if I don't know all the answers, you just know that you can always recover. You can always send them an email after the call, right? uh, Keep these three things in mind and I think you have won half of the battle. So there are two kinds of clients calls. One is inbound clients and other is outbound clients. So the overall approach of how you approach these two clients is similar. Like the call, it will be like uh, kind of same only, but how you approach the call, how you lead the call slightly changes. So I'll just quickly tell what is the difference between an inbound and an outbound lead, and then how you approach these two calls. So for inbound leads, they have found you. They have seen you somewhere. They have maybe saw your post, or they have someone has referred you to them, or they have seen your work online, or maybe on a blog they have seen a byline and they have reached out to you. So they are already, they know the problem exists. They know that, for example, Nikita is good. She can write blogs. I can ask her for her services, and then they reach out to me. They have a lot of context about you. So for inbound leads, you don't have a lot of context about them. So your job is to mostly ask a lot of questions and understand maybe how they found you and what their problem is, have they tried it before, and things like that. With outbound, you have found them. So you have made a list of people you want to outreach. You have found a gap. Okay, they're using a lot of AI written articles on their website. uh, you have done the research. You have reached out to them. You have initiated the conversation and you have gotten a reply. Now your job is to convince that there is a gap. Your job is to convince them that filling the gap is important for their business, and your job is to convince them that you are the one who can help them the best. So with outbounds, a lot of the call goes through convincing, like proving a point. With inbound, proving become less and it's more about asking the right questions, seeing if it is the right fit, and things like that. I will talk about inbound first. What questions you can ask, how do you lead the call, what generally happens. I will give an example and then we'll look at outbound calls. Yeah. So usually in inbound calls, they introduce themselves first. They'll be like, "Hi, Nikita. This is how I found you. How's it going?" All of the basic hi, hello, and then they share why they have reached out. So you can have a lot of these back and forth in the chat as well before going on the call. So just make sure that you have enough context on the chat before booking a call. or if you're just directly booking a call through a discovery call or something, then also like just ask the right questions and ask them what is the gap, how did they find you. So they have already seen your work, right? They're not looking for examples because they came, or you have already shared your portfolio to them in chat. So it's a very like known conversation. Here slightly you have a slightly bigger edge because they have reached out to you and you're like, I am the service provider, what do you need, I will see, I will take the decision. It's mostly like that. So the confidence in these calls are slightly higher. Your job is to understand if it's the right fit or not, and then but not sell yourself. In outbounds you're selling yourself, selling your service. With inbounds is slightly easier is what I would say. uh, what do you ask? You ask, so I have my major service is blog writing and newsletters. So all of these holds true to any service. It can be personal branding, it can be social media management, or any other service that you guys provide. I'm taking a lot of blog examples because I relate to it the most, but it holds true to everything. Right at the If you still have doubts how do you approach a particular service, you can ask me towards the end of the call and I will try and help you. But examples are about blogs only, so don't think that these only apply to blogs, right? So you can ask. So for example, I have seen a client, they said that they have been using AI to write the articles, now they want quality content. Now I can ask them, do they already have writers who write AI content? Do they have an SEO team? Do they want me to do SEO? Like a lot of, I mean, so to ask these questions also, you have to understand how your service looks like as a whole. So if I say I write blogs and if I don't know at all about SEO, the trust already breaks. So understand your skills end to end first, understand your process end to end very clearly, and then you will be able to ask better questions. You will be able to lead the call better. You can ask if they already have a system in place. How often do they publish? What are they looking for at the end of the project? Are they looking for visibility? Are they looking for conversions? So for example, LinkedIn personal branding, they will look for visibility mostly. Some will also look for clients and conversions and leads, but it's your job to ask them. With outbound it's slightly different. With outbound you have said that uh, your brand is not growing because you're not building a personal brand, you need visibility, so you are showing them that they need visibility. With inbounds you need to ask why they are here and how you can help them. How do you guide the conversation? Listen properly, don't like ask them to repeat themselves, or don't be like take notes whatever they're saying. This is what I do. If they say that they do interview, so they take interviews and they convert that into a newsletter or a blog. So I'll take that notes, like who is your speaker, who how often do you take interviews, how often do you want to publish, things like that you will ask them. Then you so there's a lot of format also that happens. Do they want quotes? Do they want uh, paraphrased sentences? Do you also have to create images for the blogs? Do you have to create thumbnails for the blogs? Will you be the one uploading the content on WordPress? So all of these small things also you want to ask and clarify, and based on that you need to write the conversation. So overall, the inbound call happens like this. You go on the call, generally they tell why are they here, that you have understood why they are here. Then you take the conversation and say that okay, I have not done this, but I have done this, so I can help you with this, like based on whatever the question is. Then you tell them your process. Ki how do you approach the entire service that you're providing. Keep the call very focused, ask good questions, and then before the end just summarize. Okay, so you're looking for blogs, we'll be doing 4 blogs a month. We have agreed on $150 per blog. I will send you an email after this, just verbally summarize, and at the end of the call, if there are action steps, clarify the action steps, and then you can say bye bye or whatever. If you have missed something, if you're not sure about something, tell them that you will get back to them after the call. So just summarize in a proper way. So if you're not taking notes of what you have missed, you will forget about it. And if you remember, then you can remind them into the call. So also, if there's something they want to check internally, so you need to remind them. So basically, write down everything. That helps a lot. Even after the follow up, they will know that okay, you were listening, you were paying attention, you are someone good that they can work with. I've given this example, the Kenya client example, but I will go into detail now. um, so I said 150. He was like, fine, let's get on a call. We got on the call. I had zero expectations. I was very chill. He asked me, tell me about your process. So I told him about my process. I'll tell shortly here, like how my process looks. So I said that first I get a brief from you or a topic from you. If you are not giving me a topic, I will provide you five topics. You can approve three or you can approve how much ever. Then you give me a brief. If you're not giving me a brief, I will give you a content outline that you need to approve. So I'm giving both the options because I don't know what their process is like. So in my process, I share. If you give me the topics and the outline, I will start writing. If not, I will give you the outline and you approve it, and then we start writing. Then I tell my research process. Then I tell my writing process, editing, do they have editor or not, ask all of these questions. Then he asked me, how do you use AI? And because he was about to give me transcripts of the interviews that he was taking, and I was supposed to convert it into thought leadership articles, I said that I will use AI to uh, summarize the transcript to understand the gist of it. I didn't say that I will not use AI at all. He said, do you outsource your work? he was he has worked with clients, with writers before, who outsource their work, and then the quality declined. I said that I personally don't like outsourcing my work. I work alone. So whatever your process is, just like be very very honest. If you're using AI, tell that you use AI, how often you use AI, things like that. Also on the call, with any prospect, if it is outbound or inbound, convince them to give you a pilot, right? If it is a paid pilot or not, that depends on what is the need of you in that month. But if it is a long term client or not, you can focus on it later. You can always ask for a pilot project. For example, you have sent them a samples and they are like, okay, we didn't like it, or this is not relevant to us. You can always say that, will you be open for me to doing a paid, not paid, but for me doing a pilot? So, like, let's give it a try because we have already invested a lot of time into it. A pilot is a project that it is a first blog that you write for them. The client has not agreed to give you four blogs in the entire month. We are doing a sample project, let's say. So it's a pilot project. It can be paid or unpaid depending on, if I really really want to work with the client, I will do it for free. If I am booked for that month and I'm like, okay, it's an extra client, I'm not that desperate to convert that, I will ask it to be paid. So pilots can be a little lower than your actual charges. So for example, um, if I charge 4 rupees per blog, I can do a pilot at 2 rupees per blog because it increases my chance of conversion. So if you are like, no, I will do 4 rupees only, then you are only sabotaging yourself. With pilots, you can ask them to, like, I can do it at a lower price or I can do it for free. I really want to work with you, things like that. So he said we'll do a pilot, which he liked, and then we ended up converting the client. So this was the whole uh, inbound story. I'll see if there are any questions, uh, and I'll take whatever guys if you have. Is it assessment or task from the client? Um, when there is a job hiring, right? So they give a lot of assessments to do. That is also sample only, but sometimes they are like very huge. Give me 3 months of content strategy for this brand. All of that, I think, is just underestimating your work. I would not say that you should do it. uh, you can call that a pilot, but pilots are mostly the first blog or the first LinkedIn post that you will write for them that they like or dislike. Based on that, they will decide. So, for example, I'll summarize it. You have five blogs in your portfolio. They have seen your portfolio and they are like, we are not convinced because um, they're not convinced because the niche is slightly different, right? You can say that, okay, let me write one blog for you in this niche, and if you like it, we can go ahead. If you don't like it, that is completely fine. Would you recommend frequency of the pilot? So pilot is just one, the first blog that you write. There's no frequency of the pilot. So after the pilot, either you convert the client or you don't convert the client. If you have converted the client, it depends on your bandwidth, it depends on what the service is, and then you uh, go ahead and work. Yes, Keith, you can ask the question.
Yeah, so this was an international market you tapped into. So I wanted to know, you mentioned that you are very clear about the usage of AI that you use. So I want to know, so आपने like you have done other prospect calls as well. Is like how is what is the perception of people in international markets about AI when you tell them that you use that in the process? Because like in with my Indian clients, I have noticed that some are like we also those see those posts on LinkedIn, key AI detectors and everything. So I want to know. I just want to get an idea what is their viewpoint on this AI thing.
I don't think they mind. They It depends from client to client. In India, I think they are like really obsessed with AI detectors and things like that. Could be true in international market as well. But if you know enough about AI, so it's your job to convince them that AI is not hampering the quality. It's only uh, helping me deliver the work better and faster and help me think better. If you, yeah. Okay, it's last question I'm answering, then we'll go to the end and answer it. So if you know how AI works and if you know how AI aids you in your work, then you will be able to convince them. It doesn't matter if you use AI or not, if they want you to use AI or not. It's just that how you use it is what that matters. You guys can also drink water, stay hydrated, guys. Um, Next we'll move on to the, sorry.
I said thank you.
No problem. We'll move on to the outbound call approach. Uh, so here, as I said before, you have initiated the conversation. You have already spotted the gap. They don't know you. So with inbound, they know you. They have found you. You are like, okay, this is the person. So you set the agenda of the call. You lead the call. Uh, so you're not asking a lot of questions. You are defending them. You can ask a lot of questions. Ki, do you have a team or do you have not a team? Do you Why are you not taking this seriously? All of these questions you can ask. But all of the responsibility comes on your head. So outbound calls are a little slightly uh, more serious, I would say, on your part. Inbounds are, I would say, light only, but depends. How do you present the gap and your solution? So this is very important. Again, here also the process comes. So you can start by how you found them. Then you start that, okay, all your blogs start with in an ever evolving world, which is clearly AI written. It will not rank on Google, it's hampering your conversions. So I can help. So you can again pitch. You can either rewrite the blogs or you can start a whole new batch of blogs. Depends on how much time you want to invest in the client. Keep it simple. If you can back it with facts, it's very, very nice. So if you say that if there's a data that shows AI written blogs are not ranking, you can just say that like purely AI written blogs are not ranking. You can show it to them that it's happening in your business. Then you tell your process. How do you approach? What is your rewriting process? What is your topic research process? What is your SEO process if you do SEO? Um, if in SEO also, if you need them to pay for an SEO tool, you should like tell them on the call only. Um, all of these things. So how do you tell it, right? If they say that uh, we want you to do SEO, will you be able to do it? You can say all of my clients provide me with the SEO tool. So this is a part of my process that the client will give me the SEO tool. So if you say that it's a very concrete process that you have set, You don't invest into it because it's the client work. If you say it confidently, the client will be convinced that okay, she has a very set process, she is very confident about it, all of her clients are following her process, so let me also follow her process. Again, you don't need to be very very strict about it, थोड़ा सा adjust करना पड़ता है, but that is why I'm so many times I've said, I think I've said process hundreds of times. If you have the process clear, half of the task is done. It's not a sales pitch. You are just saying that uh, there's really a gap which is important to fill for your business, and I can help it. You can focus on not just outcomes. So it depends on service kya hai, what is the service, what is the. With blogs, you cannot promise outcomes. With LinkedIn, you can say that we will improve your visibility by 30% in the next 3 months. Be sure about your timelines as well. Don't say that will make your post go viral in 1 month, because that does not, almost does not happen. Uh, so if you know how LinkedIn posts perform, you will know that it will take at least 3 months to start a page from scratch to see some results. You will have to say that timeline. With blogs, there is a lot of factors involved: on page SEO, off page SEO, backlinking, internal linking, images. Uh, अभी तो AI overview भी आ गया है, so all of those things are involved. If they have an SEO team, you will have to. Can you hear that background noise? Just a second. Is it better now? Okay, only. Fine. Um, yeah, so with blogs, there's a lot of process involved. That is why there's a special SEO team that happens, like that companies, big companies have. So let them know that ranking of blogs is not a one-person job. It's a very long, longer process. So you can help them with quality content, but ranking depends on a lot of other factors. Just be very, very honest, very sure about. So if you're sure about what it takes to rank a blog, then only you can tell them how much of it you can contribute towards, and the rest of it has to be contributed towards by the company or by their SEO team, right? So again, understanding the process of your service and understanding your own process is very very important. You will see a lot of objections or questions that the client is asking you. As I said before, have you written in this niche? Sometimes you have, sometimes you haven't. That's when you convince them to do a pilot. How will you do it? Again, the process, what results you can guarantee. So again, if you can guarantee, sometimes you can only guarantee the outcome. So you can say, I will give you 4 high quality blogs in a month if you provide me a SEO team. If I can coordinate with your SEO team, only do it if you are confident about it. I am not, so I don't do it. If you provide me as SEO team, we can try to make it rank in the next 3 months, or however the process is. You share your samples. Can we do a pilot first? So sometimes if they are agreed, they only ask you to do a pilot, and then if you answer calmly, it just helps. Also, repeating what they have said also helps. So if they say that um, we have we don't have an nahi, if they say that we have this process where we ask ChatGPT for topics, and we have an intern who puts the topics in ChatGPT and he writes the blogs. So you can say that, okay, I understand your process. Taking topics from ChatGPT is okay, but no, not blindly writing on all of the topics that it has given. There has to be someone experienced who will pick the topics from ChatGPT. So you have also repeated what they have said, but you have also given your input inside it. So that also helps them to feel that you are listening to them. Another example I will give you. So there's a client I work with. I write newsletters for them, daily newsletters for them. It was a referral, but they don't know me. They have never heard of me. So I'm giving it as an outward example, because they don't know me, right? It's my job to convince them that uh, I have done the work, or I can do the work. So it's an AI newsletter, and it goes live almost every day. What's happening in AI? What's the new update in AI? I have never written a newsletter before this client. I was writing my own newsletters. I had around, I think, 300 subscribers or something. I was talking about newsletters a lot, hence I got the referral. Um, but AI may, I have no idea what's happening in AI. I don't keep myself updated with AI, things like that. So we got, but I did like prepare. I went on the website. I looked at their newsletter. I had some opinions कि अच्छा ये कर सकते हैं, ये कर सकते हैं. And so because I didn't know about AI, I asked ChatGPT to help me prepare, and it showed me a couple of websites, because I know he will ask me how do you stay updated with AI trends. It's a very important, like very common question, because I'm writing about AI every single day. So I learned a couple of websites that I can just name. That he will be okay. That okay, she knows at least these names, so she will be fine. So this is all I prepared. I was like, call पे जाके देख लेंगे. We went on the call. He asked me about my previous experiences. I said I've only written blogs, but I've written blogs for these companies, which I think helped, but again did not matter. Both are long form content, right? So it kind of mixed together. Then he asked me, how do you stay updated with AI trends? And I was waiting for this question. I said that I use Product Hunt and another website, I don't remember now. All of these things. Then he said that I wish, like, do you have something to present to us? And I had no idea what I'm supposed to present. Then he said that I wish you would have prepared something, some strategies you would have in your mind about our newsletter. I was so blank and I'm internally panicking, like I know I have fucked up. I don't know how I can recover from here now. But then I remembered that while researching, I had some opinions about the newsletter that they're presenting. I remembered that there is no personality in the newsletter, or there's just too much information. Nobody would be interested in too much information every single day. So I asked him, is it, I have not prepared something already, but is it okay if I share my screen and I uh, walk you through what I think about the newsletter? So it's not like I'm not giving him anything. I am giving him a walkthrough. I'm giving him my thought process by walking through the newsletter. So I said that because your readers are CXOs of Fortune 500 companies, giving them 10 resources every single day is too much. We can reduce it to 5. Um, there's no personality, is one thing I remember. I also said that. Um, so all of the updates are what is happening. Nobody is telling that how is it affecting CXOs of companies, right? Okay, I have understood that. Okay, 5.1 is launched. What next? How I can use it? I would be interested as a CXO. I would be interested in knowing how I can use it rather than how. Uh, okay, 5.1 was launched, right? So I said all of these suggestions. Uh, he was nodding. He was saying yes. He was saying good observation and things like that. And then he said that let's do a pilot. You take tomorrow's newsletter, you write it in your own version and you send it to me. But tomorrow's newsletter had all of the changes already that I already told them on the call. There were already 5 resources. They were already focusing on why this update is important, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? If you can see in this email, I've written, I was delighted to see a few of my suggestions already incorporated in yesterday's newsletter. So I could have said that okay, you have implemented my suggestions. I have nothing, but I wanted to add on to that. So I did some more research. I took some more time, and I added all of that. I rewrote the newsletter and I sent it to them. um, how was this? Then we ended up converting the client, which is fine. But I was able to think on my feet at 2:30 a.m. when the call was. It was possible because I had done my research and I had a few opinions. Having an opinion is very important. It was also important because I showed them that I'm thinking from the reader's perspective. It holds true for all of the writing that people do, even for blogs or newsletters or LinkedIn posts. Reading from the thinker's perspective is very, very important. So he liked my way of thinking. He liked my way of adding a little personality to it. So all of then he asked me how much time it takes. You can just share everything. So I shared all of that. And I'll show you the email. When I was looking for this screenshot to add, I I forgot about it, but then I remembered. Uh, एक second. So this is the screenshot that you see, right? This is sent on 25th of May. I did not hear it from them. I'm like Sunday है नहीं reply करेंगे. Next, so I was not hearing. I was not sure how to follow up. So in the follow up, 3 days later, I sent them more ideas. Okay, I have few more ideas to make the newsletter sharper. Then I gave them three more things. Maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do that. All of those ideas. Then he saw that. Uh, then he replied the after 2 days. So even in a follow-ups, you can give them a lot more ideas. It shows that you are really interested in uh, doing their work, and you're not just doing the bare minimum. You can go the extra mile always. I think this is almost towards the end. I'll try to keep it very short because I have already spoken about all of it previously. Um, when they question your experience, you can always bring it back to your process. So for example, they say that okay, you don't have an experience of writing a newsletter, how can I trust you? You can say that I have written blogs. Blogs are long form content. Blog में भी same research लगती है. Blogs also uh, are refined from the reader's perspective. I can bring all of that to a newsletter. You can say this when you're thinking on your feet and you're like confident about your process. You can accept that okay, I don't know, but I'm very very eager to learn. I didn't know about AI, but I was eager to learn. Even in that AI experience, luckily I think during May Claude 2.0 was launched. When he was asking how do you stay updated, I'm like, I know that Claude is launched. And he's like, how do you know? Like, where did you read that Claude 2.0 is launched? I said that it came on my Twitter feed. So I told him I don't keep updated myself with AI, but I know Claude is launched. So he thinks that okay, at least on my Twitter, my feed is curated to keep me updated about AI. So somehow or the other, I will know what's happening in AI. I'm already trying to know about it. So all of these things, right? Show how you think and not just what you have done. So again, same example. I'm thinking from the reader's perspective and implementing the suggestions, and not just okay, I have written for HubSpot or I have written for this that. I'm not focusing on that. I'm focusing on uh, HubSpot articles have so and so quality or so and so data. So this is how I approach this particular style of writing. When you don't know something, you can always say that I'll get back to you after the email. When you feel nervous, you can always drink water, or you can always pause and think while before answering the question. 3 seconds, 5 seconds is completely fine. In my job interviews, I remember as soon as they have completed the question, if I don't answer within that second, I will feel like I have lost this job interview. It's okay to think about it. Like I am also thinking before talking about the point, right? I hope you're not feeling it कि इसको आता नहीं है, but you're thinking that okay, she cares enough to frame her thoughts properly and then present her point, right? You can always ask them a question, maybe how important it is, or will you be able to, is it okay if I learn about it for 2 weeks and we get started in the third week? It's just a very random example, but you can always ask them such questions, because if they have liked your thinking process, if they have liked your previous work, they will be open to, if it's not very very urgent, they will be open to taking it a little slow. Yeah, and be comfortable with silence. It's completely fine. You should avoid overselling. Do not oversell, do not overpromise. I cannot stress this enough. um, I will this is the, you should not say that this will be the best experience. Show that you are open to learning, show that you are open to suggestions, so that you are open to experiments, and don't also undersell yourself. I would also say that. So if a project is of 10,000 rupees, let's say, and if they're like my budget is 2,000, you can like confidently say no, because you have set this 10,000 for some reason. So from 10 you can come to 6, right? I'm not saying that oh, stay on 10, but from 10 do not come to 2,000 rupees. The Kenya client I was telling you about, Once the thought leadership articles was over, we wrapped up the project. After two months, he was like, "We have another set of articles. Will you be able to do it at $40 per article?" Like from 150, I cannot go to 40. I said from 150 we can do it at 120, or let's say 100 also is fine. 40 is too less. So like I've not worked with him since because he's not able to come above 40. So you also need to hold your ground. So for example, another example I'll give you. For example, you are doing a free pilot, right, to add it in your portfolio. Even if I don't convert the client, it's free. I'll add it to my portfolio. Do not mention that you are doing it to add it in your portfolio. Say that we have already spoken a lot. I'm really passionate about your project. I would love to give it a try. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I'll add it to my portfolio. Like the last one, the last sentence, keep it in your mind. Don't tell it to them. It just lowers your credibility that they have in their mind. Don't promise results that you cannot guarantee. Don't promise viral posts. Don't promise blogs ranking on number one, etc., etc. Because I think if you're very very honest, I want to give it my best. I want to, and you go in with zero expectations. I think it should be fine. After the call, summarize. Here's what has happened. You can reconfirm the scope, or you can just reconfirm the scope in the email that you sent. If they have, for example, they've said that we will look internally and we will confirm if we want to outsource SEO with you or not. So just remind them that I'll be waiting for a confirmation from your end about the SEO. So you will remember this when you're taking notes throughout the call, right? So all of this just comes together into the call. You can specify the next steps, add it in the email, send it to them. So we don't have to send the proposal immediately. The proposal is, it has in detail all of the deliverability, the dependencies, and all of that. You don't have to send the proposal immediately, but send a summary email after the call to them so that they are also in the loop. And if there is something you're waiting for to add into the proposal, it's just a reminder to them. Uh, Again, I would reiterate, going in with zero expectations is very important, and just know that you can always recover. It's also very important, and that they're not doing a favor to you by asking you, by taking your service. You're not doing a favor to them. You're just collaborating. See them as an equal, and half of the battle is won. You can follow up as you want, depending on the client, like on the call. uh, I'll give you a quick example. So one of the clients this year in January, we did a pilot. We so pilot is also done. We have agreed on the pricing as well. They said that we'll start February first week. So I sent them an email in January last week saying that uh, here are the few topics I want you to approve them so that we are good to go in Feb. They didn't reply. Then I asked them a follow up in Feb, like, hi, what's happening? We are supposed to start this week. They said that we'll get back to you. I'm traveling. Thoda time lagega. We might start in March. Then I asked middle of February that any update. They said no updates. In March I asked. They said that we are not going ahead with the project. Right. So if a project is supposed to start in Feb, do not ask January first week only. What's the update? Like, have some clear. So again, this comes back to the process. If a process is time, you will give them the topic that they have to approve, which will take 3 days, and you will take 3 days to write the article, and it has to publish on day 4. So you will need these 10 days a gap. So this is a good time for you to follow up, right? Talk about uh, any pricing if it is not finalized. Talk about what you need from them. Follow up as and when needed, basically depends on the context of the call. I've just put all of these questions together here. You can take a screenshot, or I'll also send you the PPT. uh, I've spoken about all of this. If they have an editor, who do you contact with? uh, do you work directly with them, or do they have a person who will assign you the work? What is the preferred mode of communication? You can tell my preferred mode is Slack, but Slack and email. But they said that we have a team on WhatsApp. So just ask them कि कैसा communication है, what is their process and things like that. uh, I think that's pretty much it. This is the last slide of the presentation. You can I'll send you the PPT. If you have any questions, you can let me know. I will. I don't have a thank you slide, but thank you guys for listening to me. I'll stop the recording and then we can do a Q&A.